Okay, hi everybody, I'm back and I'm ready to talk about my life over the last like 2 to 3 months. I'm just gonna get right to it because I feel like I keep saying, I'm gonna talk about it, and then I'm like, where do I even start? Like there's so much I feel like that has happened that it's kind of hard to process it all, but also I like wanna talk about it. So here I am talking about it. Okay, so as most of you know, in my recent YouTube video, if you watched it, I had discussed what I wanted to do moving forward with like training and like what I was trying to figure out with bodybuilding. I wasn't exactly sure because of how I was feeling. I was feeling pretty crappy in my last video, as I had shared, and I was trying to figure out what the heck was wrong with my hormones. So at the time I was waiting to get the rest of my results back. So just to kind of catch some of you up if you are unaware, I competed in May in a bodybuilding competition and it was my first show ever. I competed in women's figure division and it was a blast. I loved it. Basically, I went to go get blood work done in June, not necessarily because I wasn't feeling good, but just because my coach had recommended getting blood work done. It's typically what competitors do just as a general like health, you know, like, okay, make sure your levels are good for things, make sure we're on track, all of that. So I had scheduled an appointment, got blood work done. I was trying to test what my hormone levels were. So like to test progesterone and estrogen, usually that can be detected better through your saliva. So I had to take a saliva test, which I apparently didn't submit it correctly, so I had to redo my saliva test, which was frustrating. So anyways, my results just took a very long time to get back. I had a period during my prep, and then I also had a period 2 more times after my prep, and then my period stopped like after my blood work was done, or after I got my blood drawn in June. So basically, my results came back in early September, and I can share all of that with you guys now. So when my results came in, I sat down with my naturopath, and at this point I was feeling extremely crappy. As you know, in my last video, I was talking about how fatigued I felt every day. I had to lay down at least like once every day to take a nap or just to like be able to get through my whole day. I was getting headaches often, which I normally don't get headaches, and I was just kind of confused with what was going on. I knew something hormonal was going on. Obviously, I wasn't having a period, so I was feeling pretty crappy. You know, it would like, when my period time would come around, when it would be around the time of my period, when I was supposed to have one, I would still like PMS and feel like irritable, but then my period wouldn't start. And so it was just like really frustrating, and I didn't really know how to navigate that. So I basically met with my naturopath and she went over my results. So she diagnosed me with hypothalamic amenorrhea, which is basically a loss of a period for 3 or more months. That just means that my hypothalamus was not signaling hormones to my pituitary gland to like release what it needed to release every month. So I wasn't ovulating, which is concerning. My cortisol was through the roof, like extremely high. There was like a graph and it was just showing like my cortisol would spike at like noon, and that's when it would, and then it would like crash. And then it only showed that my cortisol would be somewhat like leveled out in the evenings, which usually I felt best in the evenings. Like after 7 p.m. I felt like I could go on a walk and like have some energy, but like during like the middle of the day, like from noon to like 4, I felt like crap. And so even if I slept good the night before, so she said my cortisol was extremely high. Basically, her recommendations were like to eat more food and like lower my stress, which annoyed me a little bit because I'm like, all right, like I eat enough food. Like I knew my calories were over 2,000. The stress part, I was like, all right, like my cortisol's high, right? But like I don't feel stressed. Like, and I think that's something I'm learning too, is like a lot of times you might not feel stressed, but your body is stressed. You know, it can be under a lot of stress, even if you're not like mentally stressed, it can be physically stressed. So I think that's what was going on. So basically, she had recommended me to take some magnesium. So I ordered some magnesium glycinate, which I've been taking every single night before bed. I started seeing an acupuncturist. So I was going to acupuncture like twice a week for about a month and a half, 2 months. And basically, I would just sleep during acupuncture. I've been to acupuncture for the last few years, but I had been told that like acupuncture was gonna help me hormonally as well. So I really made an effort to make it out there a couple times a week and heal. I basically started going to acupuncture. I started taking magnesium glycinate every night before bed. So I got it in this powdered form from my acupuncturist, and now I'm taking a capsule form from Revive. They're a supplement brand, and I've noticed significant like changes in the way I sleep, how I wind down in the evenings. It's amazing. The type of magnesium you choose is important. A lot of times people just say, oh yeah, I don't know, I just take magnesium, but there's different types of magnesium to help you for different things. So like the magnesium that I'm taking helps calm the central nervous system. It really helps like relax your muscles, and it helps you with sleep, which is great. So there's different magnesiums for different things. So make sure you're aware of that when you buy your magnesium. But anyways, so I started implementing magnesium, started going to acupuncture, and I still wasn't feeling 100%. After like a couple weeks of starting to implement those things, it wasn't that long, my period came back, and I was like shocked. I'm like, oh my gosh, my period. Like it was probably 3 or 4 months of not having it, it came back. So I was ecstatic. You know, most women are like, oh, my period, whatever. I was like so happy to have it. So I was on my period. I had like a normal cycle, like at least a normal flow, whatever, like 5-6 days. And then I was hopeful. I'm like, all right, I hope next month I have one again. Cause you know, sometimes your body's trying to regulate and figure stuff out. So the next month I did have another period. It was a little bit later than I had expected it to be. So my body was still kind of trying to figure things out. I had heard from a study that it can take a female's hormones and like her body up to 12 months to regulate after competing in a bodybuilding competition, which seems extreme. And I don't think mine will take 12 months to regulate, but I do think it's going to take time, more time than I think I want it to take, but it's just going to take time. So before my period, no, I think it was, I don't remember if my period had come back yet, but basically I had been talking to my coach about all of this. I was frustrated, okay? Like my naturopath would tell me really important things. Like she started to tell me, hey, I think you need to eat less times throughout the day. Cause she's like, how many times a day are you eating? And I was like 6 meals a day. And she's like, okay, well, like you need to be eating like smaller meals. Meal timing needs to be lessened, but like eat a lot of food at each meal, you know. She's like, make sure you're having enough fats, make sure you're having enough carbs, all the things, your adequate proteins. And part of me was just kind of like, whatever, like I eat enough times throughout the day. I'm so used to eating 6 meals a day. I've been doing that for like a year. You know, my coach hasn't told me that he's gonna change anything about my meals, so like why would I change, you know? And she was just really recommending that I like figure out my digestive system. So like my naturopath can tell by like the color of your tongue and like the puffiness of it if your digestion is off, which sounds weird, but so she had looked at my tongue, and my tongue was a little bit more purple than normal, and it was a little swollen looking, she had mentioned, and she said that that has to do with your digestion being off. And so I was kind of like, wait, that's confusing. I'm like, I feel like my digestion is fine. Like I go to the bathroom every day. I'm regular, like I drink enough water, like all the things. And also something that was interesting I just thought of for my blood work, it was showing that like my body was potentially dehydrated, which was very confusing to me because I drink a lot of water every day, as you guys know. But I think what it was my body wasn't absorbing that water, which is interesting. So I have lowered my water intake to about 1 gallon, if not a little bit less than 1 gallon a day instead of 1.5 gallons. I think that was too much for what my body needed for a while. And so not that drinking a lot of water is bad, it's just you want to make sure your body's able to process it and actually absorb that and use it. So I was having issues too with having to go to the bathroom all the time, and I always correlated it with like, oh, like peeing all the time. I was like, I correlated it with just drinking so much water. But what I had learned was like when your body is not producing enough estrogen and your estrogen's really low, there's nothing for your body to like absorb and hold on to. So like the water was just like going through me like that. And like, yeah, when you drink a lot of water, you're gonna have to pee often, right? But like I was peeing like more than normal, I felt like. Like I would always wake up in the middle of the night to pee. Sometimes it was like once or twice every night, and it was like, why? Like I understood I was, and I would stop, sometimes I would stop drinking water at like 7 p.m. and I still would have to wake up in the middle of the night to pee. And I'm like, why? And so it was because my body wasn't able to hold on to that and like absorb anything because I had no estrogen. So it made more sense, and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not freaking crazy. But basically, I feel like I'm all over the place with this. Hopefully you guys are following. Basically, I was frustrated. My naturopath was telling me things and they seemed legit, like, okay, maybe I should eat less times in the day. My acupuncturist was telling me this. And so I had called my coach, and I remember being on the verge of tears that day. I was like, I don't really know what else to do. I was like, I think my period still hadn't started yet. I had just bought the magnesium. I had just talked to the acupuncturist, and I'm like, I'm trying to lower my stress. I switched from doing cardio every single morning to doing a step count every day because I just felt like my central nervous system felt so taxed all the time that I just felt like my mind was like in fight or flight. And I'm like, I just need to freaking chill. Like, I don't want to go walk, hardcore on the treadmill for 30 minutes in the morning. I'd rather go on a nice little walk outside and enjoy nature and just be more calm. So I started doing that. I started counting my steps. I was doing like 12,000 steps a day. So it'd be like a walk in the morning, a walk in the evening. And it felt really good for my brain, for my body. That was helping. But at this point I was frustrated. So I called my coach and I was basically almost crying, and I'm like, I don't really know what else to do. Like, the acupuncturist is telling me to eat less in the day. She's telling me to eat more carbs later in the day so that my body can wind down in the evening, which Gemma and I had been discussing a lot about on our nutrition courses in the summertime. So it seemed like really good information, but I was just nervous because I had been, following my coach's orders and what he was telling me to do. And so I trusted him. So I'm like, all right, like, I don't really know. So I kind of had talked to him about it, and he was just like, changing your food isn't going to do anything for you. Like, I don't really see a point in adding, like putting more of your carbs later in the day. He was like, you don't need to change the amount of times you eat. Like, you're fine. He's like, I can change your meal plan for you, but it's probably not going to do anything for you. So I believed him, and I'm like, yeah, okay, like, I guess we won't change anything, like, that's fine. So my period did come back the following week. I did start taking the magnesium. I was consistent with the walks, all the things. So I think it just took a little bit to get back, obviously. So that came back, and then I was just still becoming very frustrated. I wasn't feeling myself. I was happy my period was back, but I still felt very like hormonally imbalanced. And I knew it was going to take time to heal from that. But I felt like I needed to really get to the root of my digestion and my food choices. So I was frustrated kind of with the lack of support and guidance from my coach, which is hard to talk about on here, but I'm going to be open about this. So I stopped working with my coach halfway through September. So I haven't had a coach since September, and that is hard for me to talk about in a lot of aspects, mostly just because I've been used to having a coach for like 2.5 years. And it's not that I don't want a coach right now, I do. I'm actually kind of looking for a newer coach, but that's besides the point. There were some other reasons that I had left my coach, but one of them was I just felt like I wasn't getting the proper like care and support in terms of like my like health on a deeper level. I understand coaches can only help so much, and like it's okay to refer out, if that's out of their scope of practice or whatever, but it just felt like I would hear information from my acupuncturist and from my naturopath, and my coach was just very demeaning towards them and kind of just made it sound like what they were talking about wasn't going to do anything for me. And I understand he's had a lot of experience in bodybuilding, in coaching, and all of that, which is great. But I felt like I just wasn't getting the help that I needed in that aspect. So I stopped working with him, and I kind of just was talking to Gemma about a lot of this, and she actually really has helped me significantly. So if you're watching this, Gemma, I freaking love you. She kind of helped put together a meal plan for me to help heal my digestive system, and also just help heal my body. So we kind of looked at my macros and what they were at previously with my coach. And I don't really know why I didn't catch this before, but my fats were extremely low. Which makes me kind of emotional thinking about it, because it's like, I don't know why I didn't catch that before. And when I say that, like, my coach had me on a meal plan, so like he didn't give me like, he didn't ever program me numbers to follow. It was like, here's exactly what to eat. So I just would eat it, right? And I know it was enough food. It was like, I was eating over 2,000 calories a day, but my macros, like my fat was so low, like in the 40s. And women should not be eating that low of fat unless you're literally like in a prep for a bodybuilding show. but I was only getting fats from like steak and eggs, and I wasn't consuming like healthy like butter, olive oils, avocado, like fats like that. I wasn't. And so yeah, my carbs were okay and my protein was extremely high. And so as you know, like for most, you know, competitors and bodybuilders, like protein intake is vital and important for building muscle. But there's a point where your body's not going to use all of that all of the time. And so like sometimes it's just going to waste. It's like, why eat 200 grams of protein a day if, you know, your body's not going to use all of that right now? Like usually you should be eating like gram per kilogram of your body weight or whatever. So anyways, Gemma helped me with my macros. We increased my fats. We kept the carbs about the same, and then we decreased the protein. So my calories were like the same, but we've changed up the macros, and I'm on some herbal, or I'm on some supplements too from doTERRA just to kind of help with my, to cleanse my liver, to help with my gut health, and just to help heal my body. And I'm just gonna be honest, like I am already feeling slowly better. Like I'm not 100% still, but just like the foods that I'm consuming, I'm just learning more about hormone health and like what to be eating. I feel like I've been eating so good, like grass-fed butter, like lean, like sirloin steak. I'm trying to eat more variety of vegetables, like nutrient-dense vegetables, you know, not just cucumbers and peppers, which are basically just water. And I've been consuming a lot of like fruit and honey. It's been very important and vital to my healing. And I've been able to even help a lot of my clients with their health as well, their gut health, hormone health. Like it's very beneficial, and it's really important to like look at what you're eating. And so I'm extremely grateful for Gemma's help and just for what I've been learning lately, and I'm still learning. Sorry guys, my camera keeps like pausing and I have to restart it. Anyways, I am excited to continue on my healing journey. I obviously am still training. I've been frustrated lately because I've been dealing with a shoulder instability issue basically since I started bodybuilding. I potentially have a tear in my labrum, which I've been able to train through it for a while, but I'm just needing to figure out, you know, I've been like on top of if I'm on top of mobility work and see an acupuncture specialist who like specializes in injury sites and stuff, usually that kind of maintains it, but lately it's been flaring up, so that's been frustrating. But that's kind of been an issue lately. Obviously I was sick recently, so I wasn't really training, but what this season has been teaching me is truly how to listen to my body. I realize how often I'm telling my clients, like, listen to your body, don't train when you're sick, you know, don't train when you have an injury, don't train when you're on your period the first day or two or whatever. But then I was like, whoa, I hadn't been listening to my body for so long. And like bodybuilding teaches you to like push through things. You know, if you have a headache, you're gonna train anyways. If you don't feel great, you're gonna train anyways. Unless you're like sick in bed, like you're gonna train. And I am a firm believer in like pushing yourself and working hard and not being, you know, a baby about things. Like if I'm a little bit tired, I'm not gonna be a wimp, I'm gonna go train. But I've been learning that like to truly listen to my body and to truly heal my hormones, like I kind of need to be more in tune with my body and like listening to myself. It sounds like silly, but like I've just been noticing, and it makes me almost feel like less successful, but in the end I'm like, no, I think it is making me more, like it's more beneficial to my health. So it's like if I, you know, am extremely fatigued like the first day of my period and I don't feel great, like I'm not going to go train in the gym. Like I'm gonna go on a walk instead, maybe do some stretches, maybe just take a hot bath and go to bed. Like there's just things that it's like you need to lean into what your body's telling you and like truly listen to that and heal like the proper way. And so I think I'm learning to be more kind to my body. Not that I was being terrible to it before, but I think for so long, you know, when I was in bodybuilding, like I was in my prep like the end of January basically till May, and then my show was in May. So it was just like for 4.5 months, it was just constant like hard work, you know, every single day. And like I loved that, and I'm still, you know, I still love the sport. Like I want to clarify, like I love bodybuilding. I do want to say that I don't know what my goal is in the future in regards to competing, all of that. I don't really want to figure that out right now because it's not a priority to me. My priority right now is just healing my hormones and kind of figuring out how I want to navigate that moving forward. But training, you know, I love training in the gym still and all of that. But anyways, I just wanted to say that listening to your body is really crucial, and I feel like I've been getting a lot of benefits from doing that, and so I highly recommend you guys to lean into that. But anyways, I feel like I rambled on for the last like 20 minutes, and this is probably gonna be way too long, but I hope that explains kind of like what's been going on. I hadn't been feeling myself for like months, and I'm starting to slowly feel myself again, but it's crazy how long it takes, and just like, I'm just trying to be more intentional with things, and yeah, so I am so glad that I finally recorded this. I'm happy for those of you who have taken your time out of your day to watch this. Thank you guys for your support and your messages on Instagram and just texting me. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I will chat with you guys soon.